Hey, what's up everyone? Back at last, my fourth and final episode of my team building guide. So far, we've talked about the roles that Pokemon can have on your team and explained a lot of the basic archetypes. So make sure you give that a look if there's any terms or phrases that I'm throwing around today that are going to confuse anyone. But after that, we talked about the basic archetypes of teams that exist in Pokemon, going from stall, to balance, to bulky offense, and regular offense. Then I explained how using defensive and offensive cores can really simplify the team building process and make sure that you're building with a goal in mind. In addition, we also spoke with BKC about how using benchmarks of EVs can make sure that your team is ready for specific metagame threats. And we also had a great chat with Pokeaim on different ways that you can use some non-meta or even underrated Pokemon in your team builds. All told, we've talked about a lot, but really the depth in team building is frankly much deeper than even battling itself in Pokemon. And these videos that I made so far have barely scratched the surface. So you can definitely expect more videos out of me on the topic of team building, like lots of different stuff like that, especially concepts and tips and stuff like that. But for now, I'm really happy that we've covered some basic fundamentals. And I want to show you how to put all these basics together to create a competitive team you can find success on the ladder with. This is a bit of a tired disclaimer from me, but I am by no means a pro battler. If anything, I'm definitely worse at team building than I am playing. But I do understand the basic mechanics of how you go about building a competitive team, even if it's in a completely new metagame that I've never used before. So like Diamond and Pearl overused, or X and Y rarely used, or in today's video, of course, we'll be building for Sword and Shield overused. I'm actually going to use this afterwards on the ladder too. So if you follow my channel and you're looking for some lives where I can actually, I'm going to be building it, and building is by no means like you build it and you're done forever. It's a very organic, natural process where I'm going to go, oh, this Pokemon really isn't working for me to do this, or geez, I didn't even realize that my team gets swept by Volcarona. I got to have some sort of check for that, blah, 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 things like that. I mentioned it several times in my last two videos, but I inadvertently took a bit of a break from Pokemon for a few months. So if you're thinking to yourself that you can't do what I'm about to do, think again. I've got a gist of who the big guys are in the tier, and I've been playing a little bit more this week, but this is still going to be the first team I build from the ground up in this new metagame. So the idea of building when you're unfamiliar in a tier that we've talked about a couple times in some of the videos recently, that's going to be very true for me right now. Whoops, Edit Nathan coming here with a quick little insert. I just wanted to mention that since I've recorded this video, Cinderace and McGearn have of course been banned. I was debating remaking this video just to kind of go over it with the new meta. However, I already made a live with it that I was happy about, and more importantly, as I said many times, like the nitty-gritty of this team doesn't matter. It's more about the process, and frankly, in a couple months, even that meta is going to be outdated again. And if anything, my dream for this series is that someone several years down the line, like in some sort of futuristic meta, will need help building a team and still be able to use this and just understand the process more so than the actual Pokemon that are relevant. So I think I'm going to leave it as is. I hope that's okay with everyone. If anything, I'm just kind of glad that I didn't end up using Cinderace or Magearna, because then I would have had to remake it. So it's going to be fine as is, I think, but carry on. So without further ado, let's just get into it. I've got the old notepad here because when I'm building, I like to have notes to kind of refer to and talk about. I'm not a smart enough guy that I can keep it all in my head. So we're just going to get going right away. New team. And as I said in my cores video, I think the best way to start this sort of process is by thinking about a Pokemon that you really want to use. If that's an underused Pokemon, like not necessarily underused specifically, but a lesser used Pokemon, then it's easier to do that from a basic beginning point and build up from there. But the one I want to use, I guess you could call it a little bit non-meta because it's slightly, lost the spotlight recently. I was thinking about Kyurem. When I was laddering the top 500 for the first time, it's a Pokemon that I had a lot of success with. I really enjoyed it, and it was a great meta threat back then because Seismitoad was such a menace that the Freeze Dry would just completely cook it, and there's no real true swap-ins. There's a couple pseudo counters, but there's nothing that was really truly an answer to it. But realistically, if you look at it now, Seismitoad is gone. It's not exactly like a specific counter to that like it used to be, but it's still fantastic. And if you go through the viability list, that's going to be very important today. So make sure if you're building a team, you take a look at your viability rankings. As I mentioned with BKC and Pokeaim, you can't just look at that and just be like, okay, I'm ready, I know everything. But it's an important building block. It's going to be useful to you. I just use it as a resource to keep in mind, Cinderace, you can't build a team without looking for some sort of Cinderace check or answer or something to that effect. Magearna, of course, it's the same, or Shifu. Those are the big three in SSOU based on my limited understanding. So you have to keep in mind the viability ranking. It's just a useful kind of tool to build on. It's not your be-all end-all, but it's a useful tool. Regardless, we got Kyurem, and I want an offensive core. I'm thinking about building a bit of a balanced team. I'm going to just kind of see organically where this team takes me. But balance is something that I'm not very skilled with personally. I think that my playstyle doesn't organically geared towards balance. I'm a little bit too fast and loose with my offensive threats, and then I end up being kind of crippled, and I play this long, awful game, which I'm also not very experienced with. But that's why I want to build a team around it, because again, it's challenging for me, and I'm interested to see. And there's only one way to get better at it. So we got Curium here. So we're looking for something that's let's talk about Curium, right? So you got Curium, and it's matchups versus the top. We're looking. This is going to be an offensive core, so let's see how it matches up versus defensive ones. Cinderace, of course, if it comes in, it's a bit of a, well, I guess that matchup's a bit of a 50-50 depending if they both come in clean. Nothing can swap into the other, but that's neither here nor there. Looking at defensive cores, and Clefable is a bit of a counter. It depends on which kind of Clefable we're talking about, and this is going to bring us to the second most important resource, the calculator. As BKC said, he spends hours in this thing, and if you want to become a true master of team building, you should too. It seems like a boring, awful thing, but it's kind of addicting, and it's a great way to build knowledge, because you just kind of get like tooling around. I was doing it before this video, just kind of tooling around, be like, how much does this do? How much does this do? Blah, blah, blah. And you kind of learn a lot of like kind of subtle, low-key information in the back of your head that way. We're going to throw in Curium choice spec set, and if we look at the Clefable that we're worried about, so sure, if it's the old classic Wish Protect full Spadef Clefable, it's not great. I mean, it can live one Ice Beam, it won't take any Stealth Rock chip, it'll protect to get a bit that 6% of leftovers, it'll wish, and it'll rinse and repeat, and it will beat us in the end, and its Moonblast will threaten us out. So in that sense, it's fine. However, Urshifu, if you're not aware, and you haven't been playing very much like I have, is an absolute menace and eats this Clefable alive. Yeah, Clefable can't even swap into it. Poison Jab's neither here nor there. If a Clefable can't even swap into a resisted move, like a Dark or a Fighting type move, then it's in big trouble. So as a result, there's been a huge swing of defensive Clefables, like bold, full defense Clefables coming about, so that it can swap in and threaten it back out with a Moonblast. And also there's been more utility, like it can be a great rocker. We mentioned this before in my Clefable video, but it's more than just a wish passing Spadef Pokemon. It's got a ton of utility, and we're seeing a lot more of that in the current meta from what I can gather. Things like, Softball is of course a great recovery move in its own right and doesn't need 2 slots like Wish Protect does. Thunder Wave, Stealth Rocks, all kinds of stats like Toxic. You can even throw in a second attacking move like Flamethrower, Thunderbolt, Ice Beam. So we're seeing a lot more Clefables that are defensive, not all of them, even some mixed ones. If we even ran into a mixed Clefable, like let's say they're doing 120 Spadef, our Curium, triple spelling that, would be a 2-hit KO. And again, if it doesn't have Protect at all, and it's just relying on Softbolt for recovery, then I'm feeling great about that matchup. So I'm going to give this, it depends which one we run into, of course, but I think that like Clefable's not a huge concern for us. So I'll write, okay versus Clefable. And we'll actually write a little that for what we're actually building towards. Toxapex, I'm not going to go into it for I'm going to calc for every one of these. Toxapex is an interesting case when we're talking about Curium, because it resists Ice Beam very well, which is its kind of primary attacking move. But anything else you shake at it is really scaring it. Even if it's full Spadef, it's still like not shrugging these moves off and off. Curium is not unmatched. I was gonna say unmatched. I guess like just a very good wall breaker. And yeah, this Toxapex is no exception. So good versus Pex. I'm not gonna write these all out either, but this is just kind of to keep going on it. To run through them a bit more quickly. Watching Magearna, we can't get past Magearna. Magearna is a massive wall to Curium. You have to choose Earth Power when you're against it. Doesn't even particularly defensive set at all, but it resists the main 2 stabs. Main 2 stabs and the main 3 attacks is what I wanted to say. Very, very well, and you have to predict an Earth Power correctly. So that creates like a bit of a gross 50-50 if, let's say they have a flying type like Mandibuzz. Do you click Earth Power or do you click one of the ice moves, right? So that's very tricky. Mandibuzz and Magearna are very common on a lot of teams. That's a difficult 50-50 you want to be in. So we would definitely appreciate some Magearna help. Or even more likely, frankly, let's say that we get Curium, it's a great wall breaker, and it kills a Pokemon. And then Magearna comes in. Now we're stuck in an Ice Beam move, and we go, crap. Not only do we need something that can beat Magearna, we need something that can swap in. This thing is a insane wall breaker. It's probably the best wall breaker in the tier right now. like who is eating a floor cannon from this monster, you know? So we need a Pokemon that can swap into it comfortably. And Volt Switch is still going to keep it momentum that, you know, let's say you can resist the floor cannon, like especially defensive Corviknight. Well, great. This Volt Switch is going to go right out into one of its other Pokemon, keep it momentum, and absolutely destroy you for damage. Yeah, nearly kill you, right? So you need a good answer to Magearna right now, because again, if you are going to be playing these tiers and you're unfamiliar with them, you need to know the big threats. And I don't know a lot, but I know Magearna, Cinderace, and Urshifu are the big scary ones. And defensively speaking, it's Clefable, Toxapex, I guess Mandibuzz, these ones. There's a lot more defensive threats right now, actually, but the big three are on offense. So I feel bad because I said I don't know anything about this tier, that I'm kind of spouting a lot of dogma about the tier. But regardless, I do know that much. And so we know that, and we know that we need something to deal with Magearna, but I'll keep that on the back burner. We're going to keep going through. I'm going way too slow here. It's going to be a 2-hour video if I do an in-depth analysis of every Pokemon on our team's match versus the rest of the tier. But you know, Dragapult can't swap in, Exeggutor can't swap in, certainly not Mandibuzz, Urshifu can't, Zeraora can't. Blissey's a big problem. Blissey is probably going to eat up everything very well. This is just a let's play of me on Calc so far. But point being, it's absolutely shrugging off everything so far. So we definitely need an answer for that too. I said okay versus Clefable, but I'll actually throw in a help, because I wouldn't mind some help versus like a Spadef Clefable. It's up with Magearna, Blissey. That'd be true for Chansey too, but it's got much Spadef. And Spadef. Brain fart. There we go. Clefable. If we look through the rest, I don't see a lot that aren't true of that. Like, it's pretty much melting everything else. You know, the good things that's good at versus so far in terms of like walls, destroys, you know, all the dragons. Of course, no one's swapping into a Kyurem very freely. Mandibuzz, flying type, is going to get destroyed. Ferrothorn, maybe if you have full Spadef, I think it might be able to shrug off an Ice Beam, but not very comfortably, not for long. Completely melts a Powdon. Slowbro even doesn't have much Spadef. I think Ice Beam does a decent amount, but Freeze Dry, of course, is going to destroy it. Amoonguss, Corviknight. I'm not going to write them all down, but this is a great counter. Even Rotom Heat, you know, Rotom Heat kind of resists the Ice Stab. Not Heatran. But still, you know, one prediction. Well, first of all, eating 40% is not a very comfortable time, but one Draco Meteor prediction and then it's dead too. Draco Meteor is kind of slept on in terms of that stab. So great, that's a great start. Obviously, this is a very good breaker if this is kind of that's your kill sheet. But most importantly, I've talked a lot so far. Oh gosh, 12 minutes, but we'll get faster, I promise. I've talked a lot so far about how good Kyurem is, but we need some answers that helps with these Pokemon. Cinderace would be great. I'm a little bit worried about Blissey, though. Let's see how much Cinderace would do in that case. Blissey, that's very good, actually. I didn't know it did that much. What about a Chansey? Chansey's a little bit more comfortable. That's interesting. That's something to keep in mind, though. I love that. Cinderace helps with that. It has some added help with his Toxapex, too. Magearna does great. Versus Clefable, it's great thing to swap in because of that fire typing. That's definitely very cool. Interesting. But I'll admit this isn't a completely organic process, because I was just kind of, you know, musing the shower earlier about this video about what kind of team I build. I thought of Kyurem, and I think, you know, before I had a lot of success with Kyurem and Dracovish, of course, was banned for being such a good physical attacker and had this sort of duality to it. I think Cinderace was better than I thought. Now that I kind of looked through the combination, that's actually interesting in its own right. A lot of the walls that it fears, Kyurem eats up. But still, I'm going to go with my gut on this one and try Urshifu Rapid Strike. Again, when we're talking about fearsome water type attackers, it's a little bit in the shadow, no pun intended, of its dark type brother, but it's still extremely fearsome. Rapid Strikes is great. Both at a similar speed tier too, which is interesting. I kind of like a little bit more duality with that sort of thing, but that's going to work out fine. That means that if one dies in one speed tier, you kind of go back up there. So, okay, we've got that. And now, you know, Magearna is taking huge damage from even close combat. Depends on the set, of course. If it's more full of defense, that's a bit of a problem. But nothing can counter every single Magirna variant. But if it takes even a little bit of damage, like if it swaps in on Curium Ice Beam once, then later down the road it'll die to a close combat. That's great. Oh, this is the wrong Urshifu. Doesn't matter as far as close combat is concerned, but still. And of course, you have Searching Strike's doing very similar damage without the Spidef drop. So that's great. It's an interesting combination. And again, a lot of the walls that kind of give Urshifu trouble, Curium is helping out. So it's a duality in the relationship there. You know, Toxapex is a great wall to Urshifu. Curium can help clear that with Freeze Dry. Fable will die. We'll have Poison Gem, of course. We'll give it a try. You know, this is very early on. I'm planning, again, I mentioned before, but we'll do some lives after the fact on this, using this team. And if it's kind of like, you know, if this team doesn't work as well as I thought in my head, then you know what? No harm, no foul. It's not like we're playing on cartridge and I have to EV train a new Cinderace from scratch. I can just throw it in right here, Cinderace instead. But I like Urshifu. Wrong one. Give it a try. I've also tried a lot of the regular Urshifu, and I haven't really tried this one. So I'll admit it's kind of a selfish desire to try this new Pokemon out. Circuit Strikes. Oh, we can blow. Haha. Combats, Aqua Jet. Do we normally put U-turn on here? Let's check the old. And I've talked about 2 research so far in the calculator and the viability rankings. But of course, I hope you guys are already using the Smogon Strategy Pokedex. It's very useful. It's still early with some of this DLC Pokemon, but still a great resource. I'm just going to check. Okay, so yeah, U-turn isn't typically run on this one. Interesting. I'm not sure if I like that. It recommends Zen, Headbutt, or Thunder Punch. Well, that's obviously to counter the Toxapex, which would still be nice. Just because you have one counter move on your team doesn't mean that you're just solved for good. That's why switching is so good in Pokemon, is that you keep fielding the best matchup. But I feel like it's not as necessary as a U-turn or something like that, or a Poison Jab. Maybe not Poison Jab. Surging Strike is going to help us with the Fairy types a little bit. It's not going to be like a one-hit KO like it would be otherwise, but it'll give us some support. We'll run with U-turn for now. Again, it's important that you're not committed to these sort of teams. You try it out, and you know, sometimes another thing. This is a bit of a tangent for me, but sometimes you're very in that mindset, like I said, of you want to try things that work, and you're very adaptable in your teams. But sometimes if something doesn't work, doesn't mean you just change it right away. Maybe you just had a bad matchup, right? And it didn't work that specific time. But maybe like 99% of the time it's fine. So like be ready, be open to being adaptable. That's a funny sentence. Be open to being adaptable, but also don't just write something off the second it doesn't work once. You may have been able to play it better. Maybe it's a weakness in your team that you need to learn to play around, because no team's perfect, and identifying the holes is just as important as necessarily patching them up. But that's a bit of a maybe unnecessary tangent. That make a good video, frankly. But now we're building balance. This is a great offensive core. This is a great start so far. As far as I know, there's not many threats there's not many Pokemon or teams in this game that are going to be able to resist both of these two for very long. A great start. They're both choice locked, which it does give me some pause, because that means that they're both, I guess, kind of unflexible, right? And if I'm making bad predictions, then I'm in for a rough game. That does give me some pause. However, we do need to make some defensive cores now. This is balance. You need to be able to have an offensive answer for most defensive threats. On the flip side, you need a defensive answer for most offensive threats. If this is new to you, again, I recommend you watch my video on the subject, part 2 of this guide. But, okay, now we're gonna look for some defensive threats, the big ones. I keep mentioning it, but Cinderace, Magirna, or Shifu. We'll see if Magirna lasts much longer. I wouldn't be surprised if by the time I put it out, it's banned. I'm not sure what stage of the suspect test it's in, but the sooner the better. Well, yes, as I mentioned, we have the Urshifu Rapid Strike to kind of help with these things, right? But the fact still remains that if a Fairy type comes in and it uses a Fairy type move on us, like if any sort of Fairy type attacks us, we're going to need a good switch in. So we need something that can do that first and foremost. That can eat a lot of these Fairy type attacks. And more importantly, actually, we need something that answers Magirna, Cinderace, and Urshifu. But let's start first with Cinderace. Also need a Rocker. I've been liking the idea of Rhyperior lately. We might change this down the road. Rhyperior is very similar, of course, with Hippowdon, who is enormous in usage right now. But I'm liking Rhyperior. Again, this is balance. It gives a bit more offensive flavor to it. So far, this is looking like a sort of a bulky offense, actually. Hopefully, we add some more defensive presence to mitigate that. Rock Blast and Stone Edge is a bit of a toss-up. I like Rock Blast because it can help with substitutes, of course. Sword Dance is common here. Toxic would be good here. Even a fighting type move would be good because I'm already noticing that our team is all slower than Hydreigon. It would really give us some pause. But I guess the Hydreigon would just kill the Dracometer anyway, so this Rhyperior isn't going to be the answer to that so far. Sword Sense is interesting. I like that a lot, especially if we get burns. That way you're not just completely ruined on offense for the rest of the game. Toxic is interesting. Let's start with Toxic for now. Again, this is I'm not, I'm not getting married to it. Let's see. BKC said that we should be I'm typing it in there. It's funny. BKC said that we should be building our teams for specific benchmarks and not necessarily just taking the spreads that are right off here. That's an interesting spread. I wonder what justifies that. But again, I'm not trying to be a super long video here. So I will use this one for now. I wouldn't be surprised if as I get into it, I go, oh gosh, I really need to be able to outspeed base Magearna. Actually, geez, I should be able to outspeed base Magearna. I joked about it and not doing this, but it hits base 166. Oh, we're not even close. Okay, noted. I don't want to put like that. That would take a lot of speed to get into. That concerns me. I wonder what these IDVs are spreads for. But I'm gonna just trust Smogon for now. It's not a bad starting part at all, obviously. I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt for now. So we got Rhyperior. And I mentioned Rhyperior because I've been really enjoying it lately as a Cinderace counter. If they do high jump kick, it's not great, but you're not completely screwed if that's the case. But that's the less common one. I also like it's a good gunk shot answer because oftentimes you'll have some fairy types and they'll hit a gunk shot and then you can just swap into this. Having a poison type resist is actually surprisingly valuable nowadays in my never thought I'd say that. Not a common attacking type. So Rhyperior is good for that. We will get mauled by Magearna because it is not a Spadef monster. And our Shifu's close combat is going to give us a lot of pause. More importantly, Wicked Blow. Wicked Blow is kind of giving me some concern. But we need something with some special defense. And I mentioned that I want something that's a comfortable fairy type swap in. I was thinking like a Corviknight, maybe a Spadef Corviknight. And then we're getting, well, we have this to prevent with a Volt Switch. That's interesting too. But then Cinderace. No, give me the answer there. Well, in terms of answering Magearna, a special Magearna, there isn't a lot better than Blissey right now. And that's not a fairy type. I keep mentioning this fairy type that we want to help with these two. That's not the case, but it is it's essentially a fairy type answer. And the fact that, you go to Blissey, what does it take from a Specs Magearna nowadays? Does it even take 40? Specs. It does have a range of 40, which is pretty good, but still, you're gonna shrug that off. And we don't need Stealth Rock on it because we already have the Rhyperior. So we can throw in some very interesting things with this 4 slot. Blissey has some very interesting moves. Let's go. And this is also a bit of a status absorber. That's what I love about Blissey is the natural cure is extremely useful. You can just go to it whenever and swap it back out. Toxic can't destroy it like it can destroy so many other tanks. Seismic Toss, a bit of a given. I think I'll go Toxic. If we go Toxic on this, it puts a little bit less pressure to have it on here. I can let my Rhyperior kind of flex a little bit. We'll go with that. I don't know if I want Wish necessarily. You do Wish Protect Blissey. That is a funny thought. Boy, that's a funny thought. Not that funny, but it's interesting to me. Okay, super early. Probably won't stay in the long haul. But I did mention that Hydreigon kind of gives me pause. Especially if it substitutes up. That's not as common nowadays. Not nearly as common. Mostly just nasty plot 3 attack. However, Dazzling Gleam would do something. And Blissey's got a surprisingly fantastic moveset. And it's special attack. That was the big reason in previous generations why you would use Blissey. Is you want a special attack to speak of. And a great move pool to match. Okay, so that's the case. Let's see again what kind of spreads people are running these days. 200, 252, 56. Interesting. I might have to change that later. And heavy duty boots instead is also interesting. That's a good idea. That's a very good idea. I didn't even think of that. We've already got such good recovery to begin with. I'll keep it on. I like leftovers too. I'll keep it on for now. I'll keep it on for now, for sure. Put this back on. It doesn't get Moonblast, does it? No, it doesn't. Okay. This is very rough so far. I'm not making any huge commitments here. That's an interesting spread. Wasn't familiar with that. This is gonna be a learning process. Same with my laddering top 500. I think that when it's me not doing just a strict basic informative video, it's as much about me learning, and you can see my learning process hopefully. Okay, we got that. However, that is no answer for Urshifu so far. We got a bit of answers for Magir and a bit of answers for Cinderace. I don't love how much they're going to be U-turning on us. Maybe a Rocky Helmet on Rhyperior? No, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't love how much they're going to be U-turning on us so far. That might be... Steam might not work because of that so far. We have a bit of a disincentivization for them to Volt Switch, because if they get locked in a Volt Switch against Rhyperior, you're in trouble. I'm switching tabs so much, it's probably hard to watch. This is how I kind of know I'm sitting and playing myself. This is how I do. I go like rapid fire between them all, 2 monitors too. But regardless, we've got that so far, and let's scroll down here. Superior. Got a rock. We do need some rock removal still. My biggest concern is this big bad Urshifu. Mandibuzz is huge now because it can switch into Wicked Blow, but actually, ironically, that's not my bigger concern right now. It's like Urshifu close combat. I need something that can eat that. So we need a Fairy type. We definitely need a Fairy type. Fable would definitely be the one to go to here for sure. But again, I don't need a Stealth Rocker. It feels a little bit redundant with my Blissey. I'm not in love with that. I wonder what the calc is on a Togekiss. Togekiss, its typing resists both stabs. I wonder, and it's offensive too, which I kind of like. It gives me a bit of, well, this is really turning into a bulky offense so far. But let's see what that calc looks like. I don't know off the top of my head. Okay, not great. It's not swapping in. Poison Jab, of course, exists. It's always going to be an element. That's again why I'm comfortable with having that Rhyperior just as a bit of a disincentivization. That always makes me too tries. As a bit of a disincentivization to be throwing out Poison Jabs against me willy-nilly. But even still, the fact that Wicked Blow isn't easy to hit KO gives me a lot of pause. Plus, it'd be faster than my Togekiss. I guess I could go like a 252, 252. It's got good defensive stats too. And then I'm eating it more comfortably, but that's interesting actually. I've never seen a pure defense Togekiss. And then you spread status with your Thunder Wave or Body Press, or Body Slam rather, and then you can do some Air Slash shenanigans. That's an interesting thought. I think it's Heal Bell too. It gets Roost as recovery. We might be onto something. But I wonder what else. Let's see what other Fairy types we can get here. I'm not in love with that idea. That intrigues me. And actually, we don't have a Ground Resist yet. And that would cover that. All these Pokemon are garbage. Shoot. Oh. Our old friend Shiinotic. Speaking of old lives, we had some success with curing previous lives. Our old friend Shiinotic. Magirna also takes a lot from close combat. I could do a more defensive set, but I don't love that myself. Hatterene can eat the close combat very well, but it won't be able to eat the Wicked Blow very much. Again, there's that full defense with Fable. It just feels a bit redundant to me. I could do a Zoomer, which is very offensive, though. I don't love that myself. Well, I mentioned we need a ground resist, but Shiinotic is a kind of a pseudo one itself because it eats up, if I remember correctly. Oh, that's the wrong tab. It completely eats up Earthquakes, 37, and that's as a full Spadef set. So if we go, it is shrugging them off. Of course, Excadrill is a bit of a... Actually, Excadrill destroys our team so far. Interesting. We do have Urshifu Aqua Jet for priority. Urshifu in general is pretty good. It's not swapping into Curium. But still, if a Sandrush Excadrill swaps in, we're in huge trouble. But still, I have the... I wonder if I could get a counter to that then. What would I do with an Iron Head if that came with my team so far? Iron Head would really do a number. Oh, I could swap to their Urshifu on an Iron Head. Okay. I'm getting deep into it. So Excadrill comes in. It's scary. It's something with an Earthquake. I can go to Shiinotic, eat the Earthquake, shrug it off. My opponent goes, okay, fair enough. I'll just switch to Iron Head. Then I go to Urshifu Rapid Strike, eat up the Iron Head. This is assuming my opponent won't make a read and play me, of course. Eat up that. Takes only 20%, and then I Aqua Jet and kill him in return. That's very tempting. I can kind of justify that in my head. This is now looking more like no overused people on this team so far, but I kind of like that. I wouldn't be surprised if we go back after the fact and we, you know, maybe we put Cinderace here and Hippowdon here, and we put that possible defensive Togekiss that I mentioned here. That's an interesting idea in itself, though. I like that. But I'm doing some of my favorites right now. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But this is a very comfortable way to learn. And I think the process, I'm nothing, you know, this team might be hot garbage, but my process so far isn't hot garbage. You know, all I'd be guilty of so far, this team is terrible, is just lack of knowledge. And this is the only way to fix that. So we're going to go Spore. Another reason I love having Spore on this. I'd love to have a Moongoose on the team, actually. That's interesting. Spore. We'll throw in a Moonblast because we do want it as an Urshifu counter. We'll throw in, of course, Strength Sap, one of the dumbest moves in this game. What is typically the fourth move on this? I don't remember. I'm not a true Geonotic player if I don't know this. Moonblast, Giga Drain. Interesting. Interesting. It's untiered. No respect for my Geonotic. Boy, I should look at my old VOD and see what I did on that. Some sort of grass move would be good. Thunder Wave, Weather Ball, that's funny. Giga Drain's also very tempting because it gives you a bit of recovery back. What was the Geonotic? What did I have on this set? It's the same thing? Yeah, Giga Drain too. I don't know, because it feels like there's a lot of recovery on that as is. This is another one I'm kind of putting a pin in. I'm tempted to go back on. Magic Coat would be interesting to reflect some hazards. Do we have Leech Seed? I feel like we had Leech Seed actually, because that would go well with the Spore. Yes. Okay, I like that idea. I should really just look back at my own VOD. But we refuse. Speed tier is terrible too. Let's do it there. Okay, so that's 3 defensive Pokemon. Geonotic puts on a lot of offensive pressure. I'd almost sooner call it a pivot than anything else. And like, if you make contact with Geonotic, not only are you eating a Rocky Helmet now, you also have a good chance of getting some sort of random status. I really have fun with Geonotic. We got Rhyperior too. We don't, I kind of glossed over it, we don't have any hazard removal thus far, which is a big concern. So, and I also kind of wanted this Steel type. Excadrill is very obvious here, so is Corviknight. If I go Excadrill, however, then I can make the Rhyperior, that Hippowdon I mentioned, and then it's a stand offense team all of a sudden. That's extremely tempting. It's very tempting, actually. And I keep some hazards up myself. Yeah, maybe we'll do that. And then if I do Hippowdon, then we aren't getting swept as easily because we can add a Whirlwind or a Roar in there. Yeah, I might do that. I love me a Rhyperior, and it puts on a lot of offensive pressure, but that might be the call. But we'll do a Sand Rush Excadrill then. What the heck? Or no, I like this. Yeah, I like this. I'll do which kind of Excadrill do I want to do so far? I want to do Life Orb or what? I might do Life Orb Rapid Spin, so that way I don't need the Swords Dance. I'm not in love with that. We'll give it a shot. And then I can throw in a Rock move too, because well, I'm not super worried about Flyer so far. Rock Tomb, that'd be funny. Oh, now that I mention it. I've been burned by Rock Blast a lot in the past. Rock Tomb is interesting. Let's see what the calcs are. Excadrill, and let's say I'm up against the old Corviknight, and I throw in I guess I could just Swords Dance that rate, but then I'm worried about foul play for Mandibuzz. Rock Tomb does nothing. Absolutely nothing. Well, neither would any Rock move against that Corviknight. Mandibuzz would take 36%. I just like the speed dropping property of it. This is pretty garbage. Which would I rock? What was the move called? Blast. It's a 46%. Okay, not a lot worse than Foul Play. This gives me whole pause in this whole Life Orb set in general, actually. I think I'll just do Swords Dance. I have been given pause. That gives more longevity to our spinner. That works out fine. And this is like attacking Pokemon, so we'll do that. Okay. So, we have built a team. We have checked most of my lists when building a balanced team. We have two. This is not super balanced because I'm worried about the longevity. I would actually hesitate to call this balanced. I would call this bulky offense for no other reason than there's no longevity to this. I set out, that's why I didn't want to say like I am building a balanced team, because I wanted to see where the sort of process took me here. Okay, yeah, there's not enough longevity. Like the Shinoda can kind of live on its own between Leaf Seed and Strength Sap. Extra certainly doesn't. There's no Wish Pass. If I had Wish Protect that I was using over with Blissey, that would add some balance qualities to it. But Rhyperior certainly isn't living very long. Although I said I was going to make this out on, I haven't yet. Forgot to do so. So I want Rocky Helmet. I think I do because so far Cinderace is going to be U-turning all over us. Why am I blanking Slack off? Just do that for now. Okay, so that's a bit more longevity actually. So we have these three have defensive ability. If I did Wish Pass, it would make my team so much more longevity. Have so much more longevity. And I'm worried. I did this just as like at the time I was a little bit worried about Hydreigon. But am I worried about them now? If Hydreigon nasty plots on me, you know what? I am still very worried if Hydreigon nasty plots on me. It's faster than my two offensive threats. This is a pretty slow team in general. That's why having the Sandrush Extra is actually pretty key. Otherwise, I could make it a Scarper because we have no speed control right now between the Aqua Jet and a Sandrush Extra. That might be a big problem to amend. However, I am one of my big concerns looking at this team right now is if a Hydreigon nasty plots on me, I don't really know what I'm doing. It's eating my priority here. It takes 2 turns to set up something that could outspeed it with Excadrill, and it's not even eating Earthquake because it would be levitating without Mold Breaker. Yeah, so my only real recourse is to the Blissey, and if they have Substitute by it for any reason, then a Seismic Toxic sort of dealio isn't going to work very well. So Dazzling Gleam would kind of be a bit of an answer to that. And this Dazzling Gleam is also going to, we talked about the fighting type concern here. It's also going to prevent people from just coming in for free on Blissey. This is I have never heard of someone using Dazzling Gleam on Blissey in my play recently. So I think that's kind of disincentivizes people from coming in on us for free. Like, how much is this Dazzling Gleam doing versus like Urshifu? It might be stupid, but I like the thought. It's probably might kill us 4 times. Yeah. Hell, after Rocks, has a chance to Oko. Yeah. There we go. Okay. There we go. I feel pretty. Let's run through actually. I'll minimize this guy. So we go Cinderace comes up against our team. We have Hippowdon. If they so they can't even U-turn us very freely. If they click, well, we have a Hippowdon. It's not great. It's not. That's actually not great. If they bulk up on us, we do have Whirlwind though. That was kind of my earlier concerns. Clefable, our team can break through, especially Excadrill adds a little bit to that because this team wasn't super great at breaking through Clefable, but Excadrill will be able to now. Magearna, in terms of defensive counters to that, we have our Blissey. I feel pretty good about. If they start, that's actually one of the reasons I liked Rhyperior was it's a great offensive counter to Magearna. It can almost O-coat with Earthquake. I don't think Hippowdon can. Maybe I'm second guessing my second guess. Okay, that's 70%. And then after the fact, I could go to it's close. I could theoretically one-hit KO it between Earthquake and that. That's not great. But I do have Excadrill too now, which has a little bit of comfort to me. Okay, that might be a problem, but we do have Blissey in terms to answer the most common spec set right now. We do have a Blissey. Toxapex, if we're trying to break through Toxapex, we got Excadrill, we got Freeze Dry Curium. Our Shifu is walled by it, but that's why we got these two backing it up. Dragapult. If a Dragapult attacks us, we got Blissey once again. If it ends up being physical, we got Hippowdon, and we can just whirlwind it out if it substitutes. Excadrill. If Excadrill starts attacking us, we got Hippowdon. That's about as good of a counter as you're going to get to that sort of thing that isn't Mandiba's kind of specific Swords Dance, but that's a pretty good counter right there. But we can go to Shiinotic on an Earthquake, and then we can go to Hippowdon on, or my Urshifu, as I mentioned, on an Iron Head. That works out fine for me. Mandibuzz, we're trying to break Mandibuzz. Curium can do so easily. This is relying a lot on having a full team. If Urshifu comes, big bad Urshifu comes around, we got Shiinotic to eat the Dark type move. We can actually eat anything short of a Poison Jab. The Poison Jab, I've got Hippowdon or Excadrill to go to, and they Choice Lock into that. And hopefully they pick up some status and a bit of Rocky Helmet chip along the way. I don't love having 2 Rocky Helmet users. Again, if you're playing balance, you want longevity. And that kind of hurts a longevity. I might, if I'm playing against a lot of slower teams and I'm thinking, crap, like, my team just can't last these longer games, maybe I'll relent and put like a Wish on this Blissey. Or, very likely if I'm looking for a balanced core, I could just do a very classic balanced core right now of Toxapex, Hippowdon, Mandibuzz. That's like, if I'm trying to think of like a common core, I could do that very easily instead of these 3. This is by no means set in stone to be a broken record. Ferrothorn, we got our Shifu with the physical attacker. We got Curium hitting it pretty hard with Ice Beams. That's a 2-hit KO right there, and all but the most super Spadef variants. Powdon is getting toasted by these 2, which is going to give some way for Excadrill, because again, that was a great Excadrill counter. Hydreigon does give me pause for sure. Scares me. It's not swapping into Curium anytime soon. Frankly, I'd be hesitant to swap into even Urshifu if I'm a Hydreigon. But we do have Blissey there with its special Moonblast to help out with that a little bit, because Hippowdon and Shiinotic are going to get toasted by it. Rotom Heat. Blissey's going to shrug off pretty well. That's actually concerning. Rotom Heat concerns me. I guess I could go to Blissey and Toxic it if it starts Nasty Plotting. If it's a Nasty Plot substitute. But that's more common with Rotom Mow. I'm okay with saying if a Rotom Mow comes along, I lose. Well, no, I can just go straight to Curium. I answered that pretty defensively well. Pretty well, defensively speaking. I can't word so good. Slowbro, we can break through very easily with Curium, with Freeze Dry, Volcarona. If a Volcarona starts setting up on us, we can go Blissey and Toxic. Volcarona substitute variants are slightly more common nowadays, so it does give me some pause. But if that happens, and I can suicide my Urshifu for Earth, well, for a Aqua Jet, I don't know, because then it would have to substitute down. That might be a problem. If we get into a substitute Volcarona, maybe it's just a GG at Team Preview. But regardless, most sweeps are going to get stopped in their tracks by this one here. I wonder if we want Adamant or Shifu, because we're going to be relying on that Aqua Jet a lot for speed control. We'll do that for now. And all our calcs earlier were assuming that it was an Adamant or Shifu. And then Alakazam, we got Blissey. I'm going to try to go through this a bit faster. Amoonguss, we can break through pretty easily with Curium. Okay, so in terms of balance, my offensive core is handling most walls. My defensive core is preparing us against most big, bad threats. So that was pretty long, but I feel okay with that so far. And yeah, I think that's it. I think we put it all together. I hope you watch the laddering series I'm going to release this week. We're going to be going through this. Who knows? Maybe by the 3rd live, we'll have a completely different team. That's okay. That's how you learn. If I have a team and I play it for a week and it ends up completely different on the other side, every little addition and subtraction from that team is a lesson, right? So that's something I've been saying a lot here about how flexible it is. So I hope if you take nothing else away from this, you take that away. That was something that Pokey mentioned when I had him on the interview. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's all I got to cover. We're looking at 45 minutes. This might be verging on the longest longest video I've ever put up on the channel. That live the other day was close though. But still, I appreciate you watching this way through. If you enjoy this team building series, if there's still team building topics you'd like to see me cover or discuss, I implore you to let me know in the comments, because I'm not done with the topic. Again, as a team building is as deep as Pokemon gets. I think it's the appeal of competitive Pokemon in a nutshell, is the idea that you can't cover every eventuality with 6 Pokemon. Every Pokemon at the end of the day has a bit of a 4-move syndrome. So I recommend that you let me know, because there's still lots of videos we'll be doing on the topic. But yeah, that's going to do it for me today. Hope you enjoyed the series. Take care. I'll see you next time.